Hi everyone, this is Emmy from Emmy Made in Japan. You guys all know me. I'm here with a special guest today. Genevieve from MamaNatural blog is here, and today I'm just going to share with you a little bit about my birth story. I know a lot of you a lot of moms out there are interested in my experience in having a baby in Japan. So I'm here to talk a little bit about that, and Genevieve is going to also share her story about giving birth to her son. So why don't you start first?
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, I'm a little bit kind of like a crunchy mom, or try to do things naturally. And I had seen The Business of Being Born and some other, read a couple of other articles just about how when you get an epidural, it can slow down your labor and make it more difficult to get the baby out, and that can lead to C-sections or something like that.
So as a consequence of the epidural.
Exactly.
I
exactly.
see.
That because an epidural is a pain reliever, but it's also a depressant. So it can slow down the labor, slow down your contractions. And then after a certain amount of time, it's kind of like, okay, you're not moving along, so we need to do a C-section.
It's really interesting because in Japan they don't advocate epidurals at all.
Yeah.
And you actually have to make a special request to get them. So they always warn you, if you want to get one, you must go to a special clinic or hospital that offers them.
Wow.
Because it's not.
That is so wild.
Yeah. So pain management in Japan is very, very different.
Yes.
Than the U.S.
So anyways, fast forward to the day of my birth. I was due on the 12th, and sure enough, like the 10th, I started getting some fluid, coming up. But so it started getting painful right around 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I woke up my husband. We started walking the streets, and I was having hyper contractions, because then I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm getting close, because they're only a minute apart, and hey, that's saying that it's coming. She's like, no, you're not even close, get in the tub. It was really helpful. It slowed things down. It helped with the pain. I was at home. Mm-hmm. My husband was trying to get some sleep. Finally, at about 2 o'clock, we checked into the hospital. I was, when she checked me, she's like, oh, you're 7 meters dilated. So I was like,
meters?
Oh my gosh, or 7 centimeters. Yeah, 7 meters, that would not be. 7 centimeters dilated. And then it progressed really nicely. A couple hours later, I was at 7, 8, and then my water broke naturally, so that was really cool. So anyways, we get in the tub, and sure enough, it slowed things down. So I was in the pushing, I started feeling that urge to push, and I ended up pushing 4 hours, and that was where it was just so exhausting. I was asking for a C-section. I mean, I was delirious. Then my doula finally gave me some apple juice, and I was like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I had this little bit renewed energy. Really important to eat and drink. Anyways, long story short, they decided to give me 2 drops of Pitocin, and that was kind of a heartbreaker for me, because I really wanted this total natural birth. But at that point I'm like, I need to do what I need to do. So I took two drops, and sure enough, 2 pushes later, Griffin came out. It was just what I needed. And at the end, I got out of that tub and I started just squatting, and that was so powerful. And a couple pushes later, he was out. So it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It was the most painful thing I've ever had to do. But it was the most wonderful thing,
Absolutely.
And so let's hear your story.
My story isn't so. It was pretty. I had a really great pregnancy. I had a terrific pregnancy. I enjoyed my pregnancy. Had no complications. All along during my pregnancy, they said the baby was going to be very big. My husband's quite tall, and I'm petite.
You're very little.
Yeah, and so they said, well, we'll see how the baby goes. And 2 days before my due date, they checked the circumference of his head, and he says, yes, he's going to be about 8.5 pounds, which is a huge baby for someone of my size. So he says, I'd like to do an x-ray to see how big this baby is and how big your pelvis is, and see if you can actually do this. So in Japan, they often, like I remarked earlier, natural birth is encouraged. In fact, I think it's a really high percentage. I think 85 or 90% of women give birth vaginally and naturally with no drugs.
So awesome.
You're stressed not to gain much weight. When you start gaining lots of weight, they start telling you need to stop gaining
How
so
much
much
did
weight.
you gain?
I actually gained about 35 pounds, but they said that was totally, they didn't bug me, but maybe it's because I was a foreigner. They don't want you gaining more than about 28 pounds. I got an x-ray, and he says, he shows me the x-ray, shows me my pelvis, and he says, yes, the baby's big. I don't know if you can do this. I said, I really want to try. It was a day before his due date. He came, my water broke, and I said, let's do this. So we went to the hospital, we took a taxi, and my clinic was beautiful. I'll put in some footage of my clinic. It was gorgeous. I highly recommend having a baby in Japan. It was gorgeous.
Were you really happy with the care throughout the whole time?
Phenomenal. Even with my
great.
terrible Japanese, they were really, really wonderful in trying to work with me, and very gentle. I was in labor I was in that room for about 5 hours. 4.5 hours, and I was at that point 6 centimeters dilated. So they moved me into the birthing room, which is this great big room, more of a hospital room, and they had a huge LCD screen with dolphins swimming. and
nice.
blue lights.
Very calming.
Yeah, they're trying, but I had my eyes closed the entire time, so I don't think it really helped me at all.
Okay.
But at this point, there was a midwife there that was doing some pressure for me, vaginal pressure that was like, yeah, I couldn't have done it without her either. But so I'm going, and then the doctor says to me, he says, you are 9 centimeters dilated, and the baby is not coming down. He was stuck up in my pelvis, and so he says, I said, well, what do you think I should do? He says, well, I think we should go ahead and opt for the C-section. So at that point, I was just like, all right.
Amen. You're like, just get the baby out.
I said, if it's not going to come out that way, I've done my best. I've gone through it all.
Yeah.
I felt all the pain. I know what it's like.
Yeah.
So let's do it. So then they moved me to the next room over, and that was really strange. I didn't have any family there, and that was really tough. Not to have anybody besides my husband with me. In the surgery room, he wasn't there. I had an interpreter with me.
Okay.
But that was different.
That's tough, yeah.
Yeah, so then you're split, you're spread eagle, and then,
Yeah.
and it's bright lights, and then suddenly you don't feel anything, and that was really strange.
Yeah.
Then they gave me the epidural, but it was kind of anticlimactic, because I really wanted to have the satisfaction of birthing him. But, you go with what you can, he was healthy, and he's perfect, and that's all that
Amen.
matters.
It's like if mom is alive and baby's alive, it was successful. Yeah, totally.
And the care afterwards was phenomenal. We stayed 1 week. We had a
Oh my
private
gosh, that's a long time.
regular births, 4 days.
Wow.
3 square meals. Like I said, I'll put some images. Amazing, beautifully presented food. So thank you so much, Genevieve.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story
My pleasure.
with us.
Thanks
And
for having me.
Go check her out on MamaNatural blog. She has a great channel with all kinds of great tips for moms, and her birth story, along with photos and videos,
Yes.
is there as well if you want to see all the gory details.
It's not that gory. It's not that gory. We try to.
But it's wonderful. So go over there and check her out. And also, you should we actually have a video up right now where we collaborated together. We did something kind of fun. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun. And and thanks again for coming.
Sure, my pleasure. See you guys later.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.